All right, everybody. Here I am. A lot of you probably know me from either a local meetup that I'm running, or I'm blowing up your Facebook on all this, or you just happen to know me because I'm your real estate guy that likes to smile a lot, give lots of love into this world. And so I wanted to start doing some new series here, some new things to actually help people out a little bit more, give them some real life advice, and just, start out by answering their questions. Because I know when I was starting out, it was all like I could do to figure out what to do. And I ended up getting lured in by one of those on TV type of deals where it's come to this thing, get a free lunch, and you can get into real estate investing. It's that easy, right? And we'll tell you how to do it with no money and no credit and not a darn clue of what to do at the end of the day. Right? And it seemed like it was a good thing. And of course, that worked out in an interesting way if someone was interested to know that whole story of all of that. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting start to it all. But here I am. Because of that, because of just taking some action on that, I was able to get into real estate. I've been in real estate. If you guys don't know, I've been a real estate investor now for 11 years. I've wholesaled, hundreds and hundreds of properties. And I wish I didn't. I wish I could have kept them all at the time. The more you do, the more that you just really want to keep as much as possible. But I have to be very thankful because at the time it served the purpose that it needed to, which was to get me cash when I had no cash, no money. I had destroyed credit, destroyed bank account, kind of like a haphazard life at the time, 11 years ago, from a marriage that went south. Here when I moved to Ohio, both of us were extremely stressed out, hardly had any time for each other. And so it was just all I could do to just keep my head afloat. I was in architecture school at the time, so I was going back for a different profession from engineering. But I happened to find real estate investing. So I might have done architecture a little bit, but I just use that skill now to have that X-ray vision into houses. I can see whatever the heck is going on. Someone sees a drip, someone sees a problem here. I kind of trace it all the way back up and I find exactly what the issue is. And that's pretty handy. So I'm very grateful for my ex-wife and everything associated with that, because without her, I wouldn't have been in such dire straits that I would have found real estate. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, right? Being able to make lemonade out of lemons at the end of the day. So what I'm trying to do is pay this forward a little bit, because when I started out, I didn't have really anyone to talk to ask questions to, and I would just shove my face in a book of how do you do this and start getting things under contract. And then once I did get them under contract, I'm flipping to page 87 to figure out what the heck do you do with them at that point. So a little bit of a book nerd. You can see I got a lot of diplomas on the wall, a lot of different degrees. I thought my answer to solving the question of what I should do with my life was that I had to learn more. And whenever I wanted to do a new thing, I just had to learn more to get there. I'm going to tell you that that's absolute crap right now. You really don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. Like, for me, my word of the year is just who. Right? Who can get you there so much faster. But what I'm really trying to do tonight is to live into that who. So any questions anyone has, please feel free to add some comments on this. You can say hi or anything. You can even add comments afterwards if you've got some questions, and I'll even probably chime in then, because I just love helping people out, love paying it forward, love helping the person that I once was this shy person that wouldn't wouldn't ask those questions, just felt like you had to do it yourself. You ever feel like that type of thing? Like you're less if you ask a question of somebody. And yet I'll see these people that don't have a darn clue. They've got their hands raised in the front and they're the first ones to ask questions, but you know what? They're moving somewhere. And I love that. So I just really want to encourage everyone all the time, ask questions. You can get there so much faster than if you just try to even figure out the answer yourself. Some of my friends, I love it. They almost feel a little bashful asking me questions about real estate. And I'm like, you don't really understand how much I love talking about real estate, do you? Because I really love it. Because it's changed my life and it can change yours too at the end of the day. Holy smokes. It makes it so now I've got a son and I can relax. I don't have to go to a 9 to 5. I mean, I work from home, but I can even take extra time off and I can help my wife. I can get everything done. I can really be present with my child. And that makes me feel so incredibly whole, right? Why? I'm going to ask you first why you want to do what you're doing right now. And the answer is probably not going to be money. You might think money, and it's just because you want to do something else. Whatever it is, whether it's you want that time freedom, you want to be wherever you want, do whatever you want, with whomever you want, at any time of the day, money can help that. But really getting your whole work-life balance in order, and also finding streams of money that can make you money while you're moving forward. I mean, that's the whole thing. Making you money while you sleep, while you're loving your little son, while you're doing everything you're trying to do, while you're being with the ones that you love, while you're being with your friends, right? You don't have to worry. Gosh, if you get sick, what's going to happen? I don't know. Real estate's still going to be there, still going to make you money at the end of the day. So yeehaw, anyone that isn't in real estate already, I would say you should probably explore it. And if you are, then gosh, how many ways can we get you to the moon even more? Whatever your goals are, don't think, can I or can't I do that? Change the question, you change the result. How many ways can you accomplish that thing that you're trying to do? It's so awesome, right? The mind is your biggest block and it's your biggest possibility for moving forward in life. So I love changing people's mindset on things. That's one of the reasons I love my wife so much, is that she's awesome at that. She's an energy healer. She's an intuitive coach. She's great. You can look her up. Monique Hayes was her. Yeah. And so you can find her on there, on all over the place. And we used to do these Monday podcasts, but with our son, it's been a little bit tougher. But we're going to end up getting into that more. And I'm going to actually specifically do some programs to help real estate investors, because I'm going to tell you, us entrepreneurs, we need so much mindset work, because it is just us at the end of the day, right? Solopreneur is how you tend to start out. You don't have to end there. Let me get you to that point, because that it makes you feel a lot more calm in life when you've got support staff, everyone that can handle problems for you. But I started out just myself, grinding, doing hard things, having bad days, having good days when deals would happen, but having plenty of tough days in the middle of, like, you know, what can you do, right? How can I get things going today? Because I'm not feeling so energized from the day before. So please, anyone, feel free to add some comments on anything, ask some questions, and we can get things going. Yeah, we got Dmitry. Hey, my favorite Russian, coming to my meetup we just met. This guy drove 2 hours to come to our sub-2 meetup so that we can do some awesome things. The cool thing about that meetup is that the very first time we started, it was just about, I don't know, maybe 5 months ago. It's been a monthly thing now, but I've already started doing deals with those people. You know, and I want to do deals with every single person that knows me. I'm like, all the people, we can do more deals together. So many people think that they have to just work in a silo. Heck no. It's a lot easier when we work together on things, because I'll just give you the answer to it. Number one, I'll probably buy your deal if you don't want it. Number two, and after me buying your deals enough, you're going to say, well, Zach, can you teach me how to buy those things? And you're going to get those questions answered that are those holes in your knowledge, so that you're going to be able to get there yourself. And we're probably going to partner on deals along the way, whether it's private money or just like getting in the deal together, or let's do even bigger deals, 10-unit portfolios, 100-unit portfolios, multi-unit buildings. Gosh, right now I'm talking to some other Sub2 people where we're looking to develop a whole RV park in North Carolina. So I'll be raising money for that pretty soon, but that's an awesome thing. Super awesome. Really cool in so many ways. Hurricane proof as well because it's concrete for the most part. Pretty nice. So anyway, yeah, tons of stuff. So let's see what we got. We got some questions in here. What do we got? Dimitri, right on. How can we start doing deals with you? Oh, yeah, right on. Okay, yeah. So how can we start doing deals with me? Message me. If you don't have my number, that's cool. I probably won't give it out to you right away because I'm a little bit private and I like to protect that because, man, I will get bombarded with deals all the time. But like I was saying, this Dimitri, this is my Russian buddy from the meetup. He drove up here. Man, the fact that you drove 2 hours, you're already in my heart. You know, that's awesome. We got great conversations, doing awesome things. So yeah. Let's start doing deals. So just message me. Right now, you're probably watching me on Facebook or YouTube. Message me. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to look at my messages where you're not my friends, but don't worry. I'm going to get to you. And yeah, let's start exploring the ways. How many ways then can you start doing deals with me? You know, not just like how, but how many ways? Again, change the question. So, well, it depends on who you are and what resources you have is how you would start going about doing that. Easiest one is if you have no knowledge of real estate, no background in real estate, yet you have money that you're looking to put to work on something. Maybe you're scared of the stock market. A lot of people have pulled their money out and put it into the bank accounts right now. It's sitting there, not even getting 0% interest. Maybe you'll get something on it, but if you're not beating inflation, you're getting negative interest. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I've got lots of private money lenders all the time. I just mentioned the deal we have going on with the RV park. I mean, that's a great one. I'm always raising money for something because I always have deals going on. And that's awesome. That's an easy way to get in it. It's an easy way to get an awesome return. That's a very stable type of return as opposed to the stock market that can go all over the place. That to me is crazy, you know, absolutely crazy. Unless you are living and breathing that every darn day, that is just risk like none other. So that's an easy way. But I understand if not everybody has money because I sure as heck didn't have any money starting out on anything. So there's lots of possibilities beyond that. So if you don't have money, what are you going to have? You're going to have some type of skill that you're doing. You got to have some skill that you either develop or that you already have. You might already have it, right? You already might have some real estate knowledge. You can go and get a deal under contract, get that deal under contract at a good price. Well, then I can buy that from you. And that's doing deals with me. And I'll tell you that I'm a lot easier than a lot of other people that are out there because I'm very straightforward with you. I'm usually doing it with a smile because that's the way to live your life, in my opinion. And I'm just going to help you throughout the way. If there's, maybe you don't know the answers to all the questions, or maybe you don't even, don't know what you should even offer for a house. Maybe you can't even get it under contract yet. Maybe you don't have a contract. Let's take it one step back. If you don't have something under contract, you might just have a lead. You might just have a person that says, hey, I want to sell my house. It's not selling any other way. It might even be a realtor who's looking and it's like, wow, this house is over 100 days on market, or it completely didn't sell for some reason. It's an expired listing. Well, that realtor should be reaching out to me too. But there's plenty of real estate investors that know how to search for expired listings, talk to that seller and say, hey, what went wrong? Why didn't it sell? Right? Why didn't it sell? And then let's start talking about that and fixing that problem that's in there. Because I can buy all those things. There's so many easy ways. Realtors can get paid. Wholesalers can get paid. Someone that's training can get paid. Someone that works on my team with me can get paid. Private money lenders get paid. So there's so many darn ways to start doing deals with me. It's awesome. You kind of just have to fold me into your life. Right? And so people will send me deals, and I'll tell them if it's not a good one, and I'll tell them why it's not a good one. And it could be just price, but it could be some other things too. But at the end of the day, it usually comes down to price. And right now, we're not necessarily buying as many properties with just cash since the interest rates are higher. We're buying a lot of properties where we're taking over their mortgages, and it makes it super fast, super easy. Good deal for us. Allows me to put rent-to-own people in those houses. That's one of the strategies that I'm doing a lot of right now. My title guy, my one, my only, my awesome title guy, he was in one of my rent-to-own houses. I helped him out and his family, and he was, gosh, it changed his life. Should get him on here to talk about that one time, because it absolutely changed his life. And that's what pulls on my heartstrings. That's why I do a lot of this that I do. I'm not very driven by money in general. I'm driven by love and experiences and sharing that love with the world. And yes, money can be a byproduct of that, and it can be something that is in all of that, but it's all love. And when there can be more love in something, that fills my cup up. Oh my gosh, so darn much. So darn much. Dimitri, I hope that answers your question. If you want to follow up on that with anything else, I'll certainly love to answer that. What is this? Monique. Oh yeah, so this is my wonderful wife right here. Change the question, you change the results. It's not about if you can or can't. It's asking how many ways can you? So good. Yeah, I love that. That's a whole mindset shift, right? It's not can I or can't I do this? It's basically, it comes down to your mind. It's like, okay, mind, if you really want to do something, just do it, right? And then it's how many ways can I get that done? And sometimes it's who many ways can I get that done? I started saying that a little while ago this year, since that was my word, who. And instead of thinking how to get something done, just think who can help you get that thing done. Right? Who many ways? And you know a ton of people, and there's a ton of people out there. And I'm one of them because I'm in your sphere of influence right now. You're watching this, you're replaying this, you're commenting on something, you've seen me before, you can't make it. It doesn't matter. I'm not going anywhere, and I love helping people out. So who many ways? I love that. Oh yeah. So Monique's asking the same thing, Dimitri. Right on. I love that. Cool. All right, Cody. Is there one turning point early on that you still remember? Turning point for me. So there were a few, right? There's a few. For anyone who is starting out and gosh, you get your first deal. That's a huge turning point. Huge turning point. Now it's not just like read about it in a book. Now it is making money on it. And hopefully you made money on it, because maybe just getting a deal doesn't mean you make money until it actually closes. So you might have got the deal under contract, but if nobody buys it, it's still an exercise. And so you still haven't, I'm going to say when you get your first check from something, then it's like, holy smokes, this is real, right? So that's huge for starting out. And that's awesome. And I want to celebrate all those people. Gosh, anyone comment when it's like what your first deal was like, how you felt after that thing, because to me, that was a game changer. That changed everything, because I didn't have money. So all of a sudden I had some money, and I realized that I could make more money. And then after wholesaling one deal, I got to where I was wholesaling 3 deals at once, and then 6 deals at once, and mentoring people. We'd wholesale them together. So if you got a contract, you don't know how to sell it, I can help you sell that thing, besides the fact that I might buy it. But then I got up to the point of wholesaling 94 properties at once, because I just kept going bigger and bigger. I'm like, hey, this is getting kind of easier, and it's just a little bit more math, but Excel is really great at math. If I just put it in once, copy it down 94 times, sell 94 properties from one seller to one buyer at the end of the day. And the funny thing is I didn't find either the seller or the buyer, but nobody knew what to do with all of that stuff in the middle except me. And I'm going to share this with you guys right now. I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I was first starting that out. I'm like, you had to figure this out. There's 94 properties here. I knew that there was enough. If I could get my team behind that, there was plenty of meat for lots of people to eat at the end of the day. And so doing a big deal like that was huge. And it also made me hungry. And it also was a turning point in a different way where it made me really hungry to be like, why am I giving away 94 properties? Yes, I made a ton of money off of it, but why am I going to give these properties away? At some point, I want to absorb them. So then the question is, how many ways can I start absorbing them at that point? And it was at the time where the market wasn't great 11 years ago either. It was right after the whole crash that was happening, 2007, 2008. And so that's when I did a lot of creative finance then as well, doing subject twos. I did those out of necessity. When I found that, I'm like, oh man, I don't have money. I can't go apply for credit. I can buy your house like this, Mr. Seller, pay you over time, right? That was wonderful. Gosh. What? So that was important, because then it's just like, how many ways can I absorb these properties myself? Maybe instead of wholesaling 94 properties at once, I could wholesale half of those to keep the other half free and clear. Or maybe I would wholesale a quarter of them to go and get seller financing on the balance of them, because that seller, again, you're only talking to one person when there's a portfolio of properties. It's so wonderful. And this one person, guess what? They probably have an idea about creative finance because they're a business owner. They understand real estate at the end of the day. It's not like talking to a homeowner and they're, the husband and wife, not talking about them, about trying to take their house away from them. And they really don't understand many other things about business taxes, about the fact that you're going to have to pay, if they get a big lump sum for all these houses, you're going to have to pay taxes on all of that. What if I just trickle that money into you every month? You can actually keep more of it because you're going to erode your taxes over time. So business owners understand that easily, right? So it's a great end game for business owners to unload their properties. Instead of taking a big hit on it, there's ways that they can just actually keep a lot more of their money. And they're used to money every month. What are you going to do with a big chunk of money anyway? You're going to reinvest it? Probably most of what you know is real estate, and you're trying to get out of the game. So it's really nice talking to business owners. So if you know anybody that has 10 or more properties for sale, 100 or more properties for sale, please start working on that thing with me. I would love doing that with you, teaching you that, sharing my portfolio analyzer with you on that. Really, really fun. Really, really freaking fun thing to do. So that was a big turning point. So those things early on were the big ones. There's a ton more. And I mean, any entrepreneur is going to tell you, like, we're always craving more, trying to lean forward towards something that we want, and it's not always easy at the end of the day. So it's just always navigating those waters, and the market, by the way, the market changes about every 17 years. There's 4 different cycles of the real estate market. So it's almost like when you're starting out, you're running to try and learn these things. Okay. It's like, all right, now I finally learned how to do this thing. It works in this market. And then the market shifts. The whole stupid market shifts. And like that tactic, it might not work at all. It might just suck. But either way, you're behind the 8 ball. You want to get ahead of everything. So really understanding market shifts, that's so critical. When I knew that the interest rates were rising, I was salivating. I'm like, all right, finally, I'm not going to be competing with all these people on the market. And only now we're finally starting to see lots of price breaks that are happening across the nation. Price break, can't sell. Even though inventory is still high, people's buying power is less. So they can't buy them in the same way, or they don't want to, because they look at what their friends and everything they got years ago, the interest rates and the payments. They might even look online. What would my payment would have been at 3%, 4%? It's a lot different than 8%, let me tell you. And so they might just wait. But what I'm going to tell you guys with real estate is do not wait. Don't wait. If there's a question of, I get that all the time. A question is, what is now a good time? Right? I got that one from someone else. Is now a good time to buy real estate? Gosh, I get that all the time. What do you guys think? I'm going to tell you it's always a darn good time to buy real estate. It's just a matter of how you buy it, number one, what price you buy it at, number two, and your skills and everything that you have. You know, whether you have the capability to pull it off and like a team maybe to pull it off, but the body of knowledge to pull that off. But it is always a good time to buy real estate. Always. Always, always. I mean, especially I'm sitting in Ohio right now. Ohio, man, everyone wants to buy properties in Ohio right now. They weren't so interested in Ohio a couple of years ago. They wanted those fancy states with their fancy sun all year round. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Sedona, Arizona area. We'll have a house there soon. And Florida, you know, that they're great for things except some hurricanes and insurance in Florida. But, you know, all those coastal expensive places, you can't afford them when the interest rates are high. It's just the rent rolls don't pay for those mortgages. That's why Canadians are investing, and Australians and Israelians. Is that a word? Israelis. There we go. But so they are all investing here because their market economics are completely different than the United States. And so it's really awesome that we live in the United States, right? It's our backyard. And so it used to be the coastal areas that were something to invest in for appreciation. They wanted to grab that. But right now, everyone is investing for cash flow. Northeast Ohio has been rated top in the nation for cash flow. It was that way back in 2012. And guess what? It is again. Because costs of houses are so cheap compared to the amount of rent that you get on them. So those rent ratios people look for, usually people want 1%. That's like a juicy deal. Sometimes we get a 2% rent ratio around here. But other places, it's just, it doesn't even pay the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance and everything. So yes, now is a great time to buy real estate. And gosh, when everyone is afraid and they're running in one direction, you should wonder why. But look for opportunity in the opposite direction from everyone else. So just there is some benefit of understanding, educating yourself, but you don't have to know everything. You can just learn it from people that are just have the pulse and have seen the real estate cycle happen year on and year after again, which, I mean, I've done it. I've seen it. It's tons of fun. It's tons of fun. Knowing what to do, finally, is tons of fun. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What's this one? What do we have? What's your biggest mindset shift that helped you? What's a tip for someone struggling out in the growing phase? Mindset shift. So a lot of this is really like growing up. Okay, here's something. Growing up, I wouldn't even start something if I didn't feel that I was amazing at it. And that was very limiting to me. So guess what? Guess what happens when we start anything for the first time? We suck. We suck at it. I didn't play basketball because all my friends had a year before me and I didn't want to suck at it, right? I didn't want them to see me. I was afraid, right? Fear is in our head from so many things. I was afraid that I would feel embarrassed, that I wouldn't be as good, and then I'd get picked on. Holy smokes. So many different things related to that. And it's like, get out of your head, right? Who cares? I see other people that don't know a darn thing and that stumble. They'll make mistakes, sure, but there's a bit of a safety net in real estate. When you start with wholesaling, you don't even have to execute your contract at the end of the day. The first 3 contracts I got, they were all at the same time. I was real excited. I didn't know what the heck to do with them after that. Turned to page 87, said, this is how you advertise to find a buyer. Maybe you could do this. Maybe you could do that. Maybe you could do that. I had about 25 more days to do whatever I was going to do to find a buyer, talk to them about it, and get them to buy this property that hopefully I had under contract for a good price. But you just have to stumble forward, make mistakes, fail, be okay with failing. But I'm going to tell you, have a network around you that supports you. They are your safety net at the end of the day. They have those answers for you. While we were on here, one of my buddies from California was just messaging me and things. And, he had some questions the other day about property management, since I manage all my own properties with my team, because I don't like property managers. And that's a different subject. But he was asking, what are some of my SOPs, some of the things that I do every time so that you're consistent, so that you produce that result that you want and you hone that result to get better and better all the time. And he was mulling it over in his head. I'm like, just ask me, man. You can just ask me what I do and why I do it and what I thought of this other thing that you're thinking about, because I've tried it and what that felt like. And it's just have people around you. Gosh, so make that community. And that's been huge for me. Just that type of mindset shift of not having fear, but also just an abundance type of mindset, instead of having this restrictive mindset that there isn't enough, or that, if I work, I don't want to go out and ask other people because they're not going to be friendly that are out there. It's so much fear that's in the beginning, and that's okay, because that's real. And that's something that Monique and I end up talking about a lot. It's real, but we have to address that. We can respect that, but then find ways of working around that, with that, so that you don't have that anymore. You don't have to have those types of fears going into things, because it'll get easier. It'll definitely get easier. Once you see something on the other side, you're going to say, well, that wasn't so bad. I could do that again. Maybe I could even do it bigger. And again, it wasn't that bad. So it's really just having someone hold your hand through all of that. That's really cool. But guess what? You stumble, big deal. It's not that bad. But, show up to our meetups, talk with me, do some of my education, training, anything. Gosh, I've got people that pay me across the country to help them get over hurdles on things. And you just have to get to that point where you're not working in a bubble anymore. And it'll allow you to do huge deals easily. That's the thing, is with ease. Like, how can I reach this audacious goal with ease? How many ways can I reach this audacious, awesome, super exciting, inspiring goal with ease and relaxation and not stressing out about it? There's lots of ways, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Edgar, hey man, how hot is the market in Ohio? Hot, hot, hot. Are we still paying over asking price? And should you be ready for making offers without looking at properties? Okay, let me talk about that one. Those are great questions. So the market in Ohio is hot, although I would say it's hot for real estate investors. We love buying in this market right now because things can still cash flow. Like, I refinanced 5 or 6 properties recently, and even at these rates, they're going to cash flow. We can still refinance them down the road when everything comes down. But big deal. When they cash flow right now, we pull out that money tax-free. We get money every month on that. Rents end up increasing. Property values end up increasing. And guess what? I'm also paying off this mortgage too. So it's pretty decent. And that's why hedge funds are even buying here in Ohio. They've all moved here. So watch out, right? So if they're doing that, there's probably good reason for us to do that too. But are we still paying over asking price? No, you don't need to, unless you're doing some more creative structuring of the deal. And I wouldn't even start out by paying over asking price. A lot of times I want to give them what their cash value would be. Here's cash. Cash is expensive right now. We understand that because there's so many things we can do with that. But if you want cash, here's cash. And that's not for everyone, because they might look at me when I'm offering them 60 cents on the dollar for everything. And they're saying, what are you talking about? Right. And the realtor's not even going to tell the seller about it, because they don't want to be embarrassed showing that to the seller. That's if there was an on-market property. But you don't have to pay cash for things. And that's not the most effective way of what I'm going to say, overpaying for property. What you should do is you should give them some type of offer that's creative finance, where you can pay them their full asking price. You can pay the realtor their full commission, right? Everyone will get real excited about that. Like, because then realtor wants to get paid their full commission, number one. And then I'd say maybe a close second for some realtors is that they want to get their seller their full asking price, because that is their business, that's their livelihood, and that's the honor, because they said their home was worth this much, and that's what they had the seller list it for on the market. And these are on the market Ed is talking about here. And so those ones, give them their full asking price. Give it with a cash offer, but give them their full asking price. Maybe lean up to it with like another offer before that, but do it in a way where you're offering them terms, either taking over their mortgage, or you're going to, if they have a mortgage, you want to take over that mortgage if it's at one of these 5% or under interest rates, because we're never going to see, like in my lifetime, I don't anticipate seeing 4%, 3%, 2%, anything ever again. Gosh, one of my buddies got a 2.5%, 2.25% rate on a lake house that he bought. Holy smokes. It's just ridiculous compared to the 8% right now. So no, I wouldn't pay over asking price at all if you're talking just cash. I wouldn't do it, right? If it needs work or anything like that. But you can pay up to the asking price and maybe more. I've even paid double. I've offered someone double for their house with the right terms. That's the key. With the right terms, I would offer you double. It might be at 0% interest with no money down, spread out payments over, 50 years, right? Equity only payments, 0% interest. I would pay you double, because think about it. Think about it this way. When you go and get a mortgage, you ever do that calculation of how much, if you pay your 30-year mortgage off the entire time, how many times over you're paying for that house? I'm going to tell you, it's a heck of a lot more than double. Do that math. You'll hate it. As a homeowner, you'll kind of hate it. Maybe even as a real estate investor, you might hate it. But as a real estate investor, you probably look at it a little bit differently, because it's giving you that cash flow while you're paying that thing off. So it's worth it, because you're doing a thing kind of like arbitrage, where you might pay this interest rate, but it's for that opportunity for this something else over here that's giving you money. So it's cash flowing. So that's fine. But if I could buy something at 0% interest, which I have, then gosh, yeah. If I'm paying full asking price or less, it's a steal. It's an absolute steal at 0% interest rate. And should you be ready for making offers without looking at properties? Let me tell you that I do that all the time. I used to have a university here in Ohio where I would teach people basically how to burr. It was an in-person, and we would have there was a week class and then a monthly class that met. And I couldn't jump up and down enough to get that out of people's minds. You don't have to see the property before you put the offer in. You don't. And I'm going to even say you shouldn't. You shouldn't go see the property. Why? Because there's other people like me, plenty other people like me out there who are just going to give an offer without seeing the property. Don't need to see it. Does that mean I'm never going to look at the property? Heck no. I'm more of a trust and verify type of person. In my personal life, I'm going to trust what you say. Yeah, I'm going to check it here and there. But when it comes to real estate, I don't really even want to waste my time to go to a property, to go and see it, and to figure out, it's got all these things wrong with it. So now I calculate what the price is going to be on it or anything like that. And then eventually I give that to my realtor or whomever. Maybe I'm direct to the seller, and then I make that offer at that point. Anyone can jump in. Get that offer in instantly. Like if you're buying something off the MLS, send them an offer right away, sight unseen. Why? You can put a contingency, like a contingent item in there that says, basically, I'm going to see the property, right? That's what inspections are. And you know what realtors and sellers and everyone in the world that isn't a real estate investor expects when they're selling their house or buying their house? They expect an inspection. It's just common. A lot of times, we'll just go and we won't actually formally pay an inspector. We might go ourselves, and I teach this to other people, how to value different things that are wrong with the property. And that's cool. And when I'm wholesaling, I don't even like to go look at the property, because at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter what I think it's worth, what I think the value of fixing it up is going to be. Like I might try and estimate it for someone, but that end buyer is the one who cares the most. They have a different calculation in their head on their notebook. They've got different personnel. They might be able to have low wage type of people to get something done if they want to handle that. Or maybe they pay really high wage people so that they don't have the headache of personnel. But at the same time, they have a higher cost to renovate things. So they have less headache, higher cost. Everyone is different. Everyone is different at the end of the day. Someone that's going to turn it for a rental is going to pay a little bit differently and renovate it a little differently than someone that's flipping it. And so, there's no sense of really looking at the property unless, there's a seller that really compels you. And they might say, you know what, I'm not going to accept anything till you come and look at the property. You ever come across that? I have. Right? It's just maybe an old school type of person. Like, how could you possibly make me an offer without looking at the property? I say, well, Mr. Seller, I do this all the time, and I really get into the whole trust and verify. So I'm going to say, hey, why don't you just tell me what things are wrong with it right now? And that way it's going to make this whole thing easier. It's going to make everything easier. I'm going to verify, sure, that what you say is right, but just tell me, And I would like to work with a lot of trust and happiness in what I do. And then guess what? They tell me what's wrong. They tell me what things need to be fixed. They'll tell me what they know and what they don't know. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So then we can get to the nuts and bolts of it really quickly and start talking numbers to actually sell their property to me. So yeah, so we definitely don't need to go look at properties. Definitely you can pay over asking price, but we don't have to. And yeah, Ohio is bomb. I mean, lots of places are bomb. It's more importantly like how you're buying these properties than where, and the where comes down to, are you going to own this property for a long term? So then the question falls on property management and who's going to manage this property. And by the way, when you have a property manager, you pay for that and you pay 10% a month. Don't think that means you have no work to do, because you're wrong. If you haven't done it, you have to manage the manager and say, and watch like how late are these tenants, are they not paying on time? How come they're not paying? Are you keeping my houses maintained? Are you doing anything for that? There's so much that you have to just micromanage at times, if you're really interested in it, or you find an amazing property manager. If you do that solves all your questions, you message me. Let me know who you found, because I've worked with a ton before I got to just doing things all myself. So yeah, real easy. Another question that I got was, what's the best way to get started in real estate? And I get this all the time. You might see this question all the time. It's a great one because what? Someone wants to get into real estate. I love that, right? But this question is sort of not knowing what they don't know at that point, thinking that there's a one size fits all answer to getting into real estate. And there isn't. There absolutely isn't. Me, I had to go with no money, destroyed credit, didn't have a darn clue of what I was doing, but I'm a quick study and I don't mind reading a book and blah, blah, blah. I didn't really ask a lot of people. I wasn't very social, so different people have different approaches. If you had money, I would tell you a different way to get into real estate. If you had great credit, I would tell you a different way. If you love social media or hate social media, I would give you a different way to get into it. If you're a contractor, you understand plumbing and electric and framing and everything that has to go into renovating a house, I'm going to tell you a different way to get into real estate. If you know absolute jack shit, nothing at all, I'm going to tell you a different way to get into real estate. But there's a solution for all of that. There's absolutely a solution for all of that. And the biggest answer is just, again, who? Partner with people. Figure out where your strengths and your weaknesses are and partner with someone else who complements that. And it probably shouldn't be two newbies unless you really want to get some hard knocks lessons, because you'll get hit with them at some point. So probably someone's got to have some good experience with real estate, but the other one doesn't necessarily have to. The other one could just be good at renovating property. The other one could be good at their W-2 job and just good at making money. They could just have great credit and just be your credit partner because you might have destroyed credit. right? It was just this last year, being in real estate for 11 years, real estate investor, 11 years. First time I ever used my credit was this year. So you do not have to. It's just a matter of now asking, how do I not do that? Right. But if you don't have that problem, then I don't need to solve that answer. I don't need to go down that choose your own adventure book path for you, because you don't have to deal with that. So screw that. I teach over 100 ways of finding properties. All of them are very specific to what you specifically have as your resources, your skills. Maybe it's your network of people. You might not have money, but you might be in a network of people that have tons of money. Leverage that. The one thing, if I wish I could go back in time and do something better, it would be raising money, talking about money from the very, 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 very beginning, learning how to, structuring money, talking about that with everyone. Because holy smokes, what are the things we're told not to talk about in this world? Maybe your family is different, but culturally in America, it's sex, money, and politics. Religion, add that one on there too, right? But let's talk about any of those things, because life is filled with all of those wonderful things. And so why aren't we talking about them? Communication is huge in a marriage, in any type of business relationship, in life. So let's talk about anything. So yeah, so any other questions, feel free, keep commenting below, and I'll keep going for until 7 o'clock Eastern time, because speaking of politics, I still have to go vote. We have voting today in Ohio. A couple awesome things are on the ballot. And so I'm going to have half an hour to get over to the polls. So I will stop right at 7, but I am going to keep talking as fast as possible to get everything answered until then. Let me see. Take that one off and bring this on. Ed, what do you got here? Thanks. If you have a HELOC, is that the preferred option to buy versus getting a loan and then refinancing after a few months? It would be a cash offer. How do you tell that to the seller or seller agent? So it would just be cash offer. Cash offer. They don't need to know where you're getting that cash from. As long as it's liquid funds that are available right now, that's awesome. That's cash. Right? Sometimes when I have a hard money lender, I'll even put in there cash/hard money lender. The closer you are to cash, the happier the seller and the realtor will be. Why? Because it's the probability that you're going to be able to close. Like recently, the house actually that I have signing paperwork for somewhere around here, and that I'm going to be closing on tomorrow, the next day, that was a deal where a tenant buyer was trying to buy the property, couldn't end up buying it at the end of the day, went to 5 different institutions. No one would give him money. No one would give him money. But he had in his contract, it was contingent upon going and getting a loan. So sure, he could have walked away, but this guy wanted to change his life for him and his 3 kids, get them out of a bad neighborhood and get them into a good neighborhood. So someone in our sub-2 meetup ended up reaching out to me and said, hey, can we do something here? Just even not necessarily even knowing what, and just saying, hey, can we do something here? And so, of course, first I want to take over the mortgage. Ask, is there a mortgage? Can we take that over? No, they really don't want to do that. Why? Blah, blah, blah. Basically, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I think when you try to explain something to a seller's agent, then the seller's agent tries to explain it to the seller. And it's the first time the seller's agent is hearing about creative finance or subject to or anything like that. They're going to hear that. And however you explained it to them, they're going to hear that and they're going to go, okay. They're going to put their own fears and everything in their head, and they're going to emotionally charge that when they talk to their seller at the end of the day. So they're going to say, seller, we have this offer over here, but they're trying to do blah, 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 blah. Who knows how they might have messed up the communication with that, but you can just hear their precognition towards it, just their desire for the seller to basically say, no, I don't want to do that. Right? We do that without even thinking a lot of the times. And so that's something that happens a lot. And that's something that I'm working towards fixing in a real fun way for anyone that ends up working with me and realtors out there. But so back to this deal with this buyer who is trying to buy this property, couldn't buy it because he quit his job. I'll put this back on. Quit his job 2 months before buying the property, even though he was trying to buy a property for 6 months. Who didn't tell him to not quit his job? That sucks. Because banks hate you as soon as you quit your job. As soon as you freaking quit it, they hate you. They won't lend you money for 2 years. You got to show them 2 years of tax returns and everything like that. So he quickly found that out, and the deal was falling through. We can't take over the mortgage subject to or anything like that, but we could bring in a private money lender to help float it for him so that he could, in 2 years' time, go and get his own loan. Now, I don't like to usually float a 100% of the value of the property, so there needs to be some type of down payment from the rent-to-own person. But this guy happened to have 40 grand down towards a 100 grand property. So to me, that's protecting any investor that I bring on and their money. That's great. And he's willing to pay the higher interest rate, 12% interest, that it would go towards this private money lender. And the private money lender gets all of that, right? I don't get any of that, how I structured it. And so then he was able to make that happen and everyone is protected. So that's what's closing in just a little bit. Tenant buyer put down 40 grand towards title. We've got a lease with an option to buy. We've got a private money lender that has a note and a mortgage that's tied to that property. So they're protected. The interest payments and everything go right to the person. All the maintenance falls onto the tenant buyer at the end of the day. But this is a house that's not some decrepit thing that's falling apart that needs a lot of work. It's a house that somebody lived in and it's completely livable. So that's the beautiful thing, is by buying properties that are on the market that someone just lived in, you can buy turnkey or darn near close to turnkey properties, definitely livable, and that turns into an awesome rent-to-own opportunity. So those are a lot of things that I'm doing right now, is attracting those types of deals where whomever, there might be a seller that just wants out of their property. They don't know that they've got this asset that's called a mortgage attached to it with an interest rate that we'll never get again in our life. I will pay them full price for their house. I will pay them full price for their house. The realtor will get full commission when they have a mortgage that's got this 2, 3, 4% interest rate on it. And then I'm going to marry that with an opportunity for a rent-to-own buyer on the other side, because that gets them into a house like this. Because even when they're paying 12% interest, this rent-to-own buyer, that would be a little crazy if it was a 3% interest market, but it's not. It's an 8% interest market. So now that's not a huge markup. But it's very secure for my private money lender that's getting 12% interest. Awesome for them, because where are they going to put their money where it's not like 12% this week and then next month it goes down to 0 or negative like a stock market does. If people start looking at their portfolios like that, then it gets a little crazy. But yeah, flat 12%. So on a $70,000 mortgage, somebody gets $700 every month. That's great. And that's not eroding the principal at all. That's really awesome. So back to this question, HELOC, yes, you can certainly use your HELOC. Now that does come at a certain interest rate. And usually those things are, a lot of those are adjustable interest rates. So they go with the market. Like I took over a property subject to the existing HELOC that they had. It was a HEAL, home equity loan. It wasn't a line of credit because they closed it off at some point. They're this is all the money that you can get. So I took that over, and it was a real low interest rate until the interest rate started climbing. And now the things that are 8.25%, something like that, just made me have to raise my rent. But rents went up across the country anyway. So you should always be watching what your rents are. Use rentometer.com. It's free for 10 searches. I have a subscription to it because I use that as our metric, looking at the average, looking at a little bit of the standard deviation away from that, but just looking at what other houses are selling in the area, along with what houses are renting for in the area, what they have rented for, because you can use things like Zillow and apartments to see what things are available. So something is available now, looking at that rate is cool, but also looking at historically what things have been rented for, meaning they were on the market for this rate and now they're not available anymore. So there's some data that goes into there about that. Rentometer.com is an awesome one. So yeah, if you have a HELOC, again, everyone is different. If you don't have a property with equity in it that you can pull out, or credit where you could actually get a HELOC, then this isn't an option for you. But if you have a HELOC, then sure, use that, buy a property, fix it up, do whatever, refinance it. Yeah, absolutely. Now you might have to refinance it a certain way, because some lenders, I'll just say, not banks or anything else, but just some lenders have to have some type of seasoning on that, meaning you have to have owned it for a certain amount of time before you can refinance that property. So I always advise people, start at the end and work your way towards where you want to be right now. So the end is what? You want to know your exit strategy. So are you trying to flip this thing? Are you trying to buy and hold it and rent it? Are you trying to turn it into a short-term rental? Figure out what that is. Work backwards, say, okay, I need to have some long-term financing on this, like 30-year fixed type of financing is great in my mind because I'm a little risk averse. I don't want something that goes up and down, and that doesn't allow me to sleep as well at night. And some people, got in trouble with multifamily properties where they were doing interest-only type of loans, and they were bridge loans, might be 2 or 3 years, thinking they were going to get into a property and then get out of it really quickly within that time period. Well, guess what happened? Shoot. Market went crazy, interest rates went up, and now their property doesn't even cash flow, and then their money is coming due on this bridge loan. So if you look a lot of multifamily properties, you see people worried about some of that, trying to fire sale out of their properties because they didn't have all their ducks lined up. They were taking a little bit more risk than I would end up advising. I don't like to go to Vegas. I don't like to gamble. I'll watch my friends gamble. That's fun. Get their free drinks, but I'm not a gambler, but I love real estate. It's a calculated risk. When you calculate it just right and you use conservative values with things, there's a lot of exit strategies, a lot of ways to get out of it. So it's safe, a lot safer, but in my mind, I consider it safe. And it builds towards this wealth that we're trying to get so that we can have that time back, probably to be with the loved ones that we want to be with in our life. It certainly is for me. But yeah, you could certainly do that. And it's a cash offer. Yeah, you don't have to tell them it's a HELOC offer because you've got that readily available, right? And if you're closing in 30 days, whatever your time frame is, 2 weeks, maybe even, you can be more aggressive with cash offers. And that's also something that people look at, and these sellers and the realtors. It's like, what's this probability this is going to close? Well, if they're going to say in 14 days, well, then they probably have an idea where this money is. They have it in hand right now. They're itching to use it. So your offer can be a little bit lower because your probability to close is a lot higher than anybody else that's saying this offer is contingent upon getting financing. And so, yeah, you just put it in the offer. It's cash. No need to say anything else beyond that. It's cash. Next question. Probably the last question, because I like to talk a lot. But you can add more questions afterwards, and I'll probably come back, and I might even do some videos to answer some of them because it's a lot easier than typing sometimes. But how do you find expired listings? Great question. Great question. How many ways can you find expired listings? If you are tech savvy, there's lots of software out there that can do that. Some of these like PropStream and Privy. Privy is real good for on-market type of properties, but you can look at things like that. But if you have a realtor, a friendly realtor that you want to work with, because a lot of the times you're going to put in an offer, and if you don't have a realtor, the selling realtor is going to make twice the commission, or they'll get one of the people in their own brokerage to represent you. Either of those are not great. So get your own realtor that can represent you. Have them pull an expired listings list. They can do that right on their MLS. You go in there. I used to be a realtor until I realized that wasn't real estate investing. I was an engineer, worked at night, got my realtor's license. And then that's when I found out, oh, hey, you don't need to do this at all. In fact, it's a lot easier starting out not to be a realtor. So that's a different conversation as well. But I would advise you don't need to be a realtor to do this at all. And in fact, it's a detriment because it's a whole other business that you would have to start, maintain, and get better at, as opposed to real estate investing, which has a lot of different businesses within it that you can do. So yeah, find that just by, if we want to go the who route, then that's your realtor. If we want to go the how route, then that's easily, you can pay for those softwares that are real easy. Those are the easiest ways to do that. Really the easiest ways. So there it is. It's 7:00. Perfect timing. I hope you guys enjoyed this a little bit. This probably won't be the last one because I'm going to start doing a lot more in between the meetups that I put on. I want to do some trainings. I want to do some education. I want to do some just deal finding. And then once you find that thing, let's work together and let's stir up some money. Lots of money. Gosh. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all, everyone, for spending your time with me today. If you liked this, please like or love or whatever, or give me a comment. Lots of happiness goes a long way with me. If you know anything about me, then that's one thing you'll find a lot. It's just I'm a very grateful, happy guy. So I appreciate every one of you for your time, and I look forward to all of your successes. I want to do deals with everyone. Let's go do tons of deals together, make tons of money, and spend time with our loved ones. Peace out.